Hello everyone, my name is Nasser and I'm part of the cloud platform team at Service New South Wales. So Service New South Wales is a New South Wales government agency where we aim to make it easier to access government services for businesses and people across New South Wales. So what you see here is a list of programs that we have delivered on the last 12 months or in the process of doing so. But it really highlights why we need a platform in the first place. So we needed a platform that would allow service product owners, especially engineers, to actually deploy services quickly and in a secure manner. So what I would like to do today is give you some insights into our journey and share some lessons learned and some milestones in the hopes that there'll be some takeaway for you if you are considering operating or building your own platform. So right at the beginning, approximately 18 months ago, Service New South Wales made the decision to migrate to AWS. And at the beginning, we partnered with Resiliency. And right at the start, there was a strong emphasis on building those platform foundations, partially for the migration, but also we had the insight of the pipeline of products which were due to be released. And also, we took the principle of starting small and without having an end in sight when we start to build. And so it was important for us, because we were building MVPs along the way, it was important for us to actually bake in a mechanism for improvement. So when we come to reiterate the services which we are actually building, we needed to have that feedback, whether it's from the platform itself or from product owners, to actually improve the system as we go ahead. So as part of the platform team, I do spend a lot of time speaking to product owners, and we always weigh the pros and cons of having flexibility versus consistency. So we wanted the platform to actually be flexible enough to allow the product engineers to innovate. But also, we're always biased to consistency because we don't want our engineers to actually try and reinvent the wheel and waste precious developer cycles. And also, we don't want them to stray too far away from best practices. So in that sense, we wanted the platform to actually work for us. We run a very lean team, so we wanted the platform to actually encourage, in some cases enforce, best architectural practices. So these are sort of influenced from 12-factor app, and also the basic concept of using your compute nodes as cattle rather than pets. So I'm sure you've heard that similar before. So if you lift the hood from our platform, you'd realise that there's really not much that we have invented. It really is a mesh of cloud services, primarily AWS services, that we have glued together. But it is those foundations on the bottom row that we have repurposed for the platform that we actually created for the migration and are still being reused today, most recently for the DLP program. But I'll get to that shortly. The very first workload to actually go onto AWS in production for Service New South Wales was actually the toll relief program. And at that time, the platform really wasn't quite ready. And also, just to give it a bit more context, our organisation was still reeling away from another program that was launched on legacy where our system could not actually handle the loads. Essentially, it was a program where we were giving away free money. So as you can imagine, as soon as that announcement was made public or leaked to the public, people wanted to check whether they're eligible for free money and also obviously claim that free money. So our legacy stack didn't really quite handle the loads. So when we were thinking about how we deployed the toll relief program on AWS, we had to meet the scalability problem. And also, as mentioned, the platform, our platform team was really focused on the migration. So we quickly developed a serverless pattern using Lambda and Amazon's API gateway. So the toll relief program, it was released to a degree of success. We did actually experience a spike in traffic. The system handled the load quite well. And our team had some wind in our sails, because we were confident in this platform and the things that we were doing, that we have actually met the scalability challenge and also the resiliency challenge. However, when we built the pattern for toll relief, using that serverless pattern, we used the SAM framework, but also we built a really rudimentary dev portal. We realized then that the entry level to the platform was still quite high. Service New South Wales, we actually we have about 100 engineers across the different products, and we didn't really expect all of our engineers to adopt the SAM framework, use that no-frills dev portal. So in parallel, the business decided to spawn a Cloud Foundry, which is a third-party PaaS, on top of AWS, but also our team was actually working on a microservices pattern running with Elastic Container Service, which is a managed service from AWS. So it is important for us to ensure that the entry to the platform was as low as possible. Although I would have loved all of our engineers were AWS savvy and they were had the same skill sets as the Versent team that was involved in the migration. But in reality, we needed to make the platform more flexible. So we do actually use Docker in that sense. So, and Docker is a really good way for us to provide the flexibility to our engineers where, the easiest way to turn developers away from your platform is mandating a framework, mandating a particular language, or even an operating system. So we wanted the platform to be flexible enough. So there are some really interesting stacks that actually run through our microservices. So we have things like third-party apps, but also it allowed the team to actually innovate with technologies such as GraphQL. Which brings me to the My Community project. So the team that actually developed the My Community project, they actually built a voting platform utilizing GraphQL. And it was actually the flexibility and also down to the foundations that we built from day one that allowed that team to actually innovate. As the mantra internally, all these great engineers that we hire, we just want to get out of their way. We just want to provide a platform and just let them do their stuff. So the interesting thing about My Community project, it was a product which we had to service to the New South Wales population for about 6 to 7 weeks, process 60,000 votes, and then close that close that product down again. So all this was made possible because our infrastructure is as code. It's dispensable and it's elastic. That goes back to the foundations which we built right from the beginning, is because we wanted to automate everything, all of our infrastructure is as code. So it allowed us to actually spin up that product to service the whole New South Wales population. But another interesting thing about MCP is that it was built in a modular fashion, which goes back to our repeatability principle. So all these services that you see here can actually be consumed in a modular manner. So My Community project, it does actually have components running on Cloud Foundry, but also components running on the ECS pattern. So, and that's obviously the GraphQL. So the end result, although now the program has actually shut down, Service New South Wales has actually built a voting platform which we can scale to infinity if we wanted to. And this is us, again, reusing our foundations which we built which we started to build from day one, but also providing the flexibility to the product teams. Digital driver's license. Again, it's another interesting one. It was the application itself. It was actually created by another government agency, and they had that running on a Kubernetes on-prem kind of environment. So our team was tasked to create a Kubernetes platform on AWS, and we achieved that within a week because we were able to actually reuse a lot of the patterns which we created as part of the platform foundations Some of them include the account scaffolding, the login and monitoring, and auto security automation. So it really didn't take much effort to actually present a Kubernetes platform to this other government agency. And although they are actually reusing our foundations, they're using their own CI/CD pipeline to actually deploy the application. So they didn't have to use all our foundations. It was consumed in a modular manner. So today, digital driver's license, it's live to a subset of postcodes in New South Wales, and that's running on EKS. But there's really no concern about scalability or resiliency. All this is made possible by the foundations, and we have proven it time and time and again, especially when it comes to programs where actually giving away a freebie, that the platform is really resilient. So we also have a Cloud Foundry footprint in our environment, and our easy-to-do business product is one of those products that was really developed on top of the Cloud Foundry platform. However, we, as a team, we don't actually just provide tangible technical services. We also like to sort of influence people on how to consume cloud services. So a good opportunity for that that we found was our login framework. So any platform that you come across, whether it be your environment or even our environment, the platform does actually generate a lot of data. And if you follow 12-factor, all data must be streamed. So with that in mind, we did actually follow the big data architecture, Lambda, not the AWS Lambda service, but the Lambda big data architecture for our login platform. And at the end, we do some degree of machine learning with SageMaker and GuardDuty. But the point is, we actually use this framework to influence or to guide other teams on how they should be treating that data. And although easy to do business, it's actually built on an abstraction away from Amazon. They're actually starting now to actually reuse that foundation, the login framework, which we actually built. So all that data that they actually they generate from their clients, they use that same framework. So it's not just those services that we provide. It is also the guidance on how to consume cloud services that our team adds value. Firearm applications. To me, it is one of the most important transactions that we actually take on. You know, it's a transaction that we don't want to get wrong, and although you know it's very security conscious as well, because we actually perform this application on behalf of New South Wales Police. However, there's nothing unique about that transaction on our platform. So the same kind of security model or the security baked in for firearm applications is actually available for every single application transaction that we have. And that's not to say that the firearm application is not secure. It is the other side of the spectrum. It is to say that every transaction that actually goes through this platform actually has security baked in and is as secure as far as the firearm application. So it's, you know, obviously there are some people and processes that we overlay on top that controls who can access what data. But again, it was another product that was actually able to use our platform in a modular manner, and that the team that actually developed those applications, although they had security front in mind, it was those foundations which had allowed us to overcome the security hurdles as we progressed, and allowed the team to actually move a lot quicker. This particular application, they had a first crack at deploying on our legacy stack, and you know, the wheels weren't really turning as fast as the product team hoped. And then they sort of started to deploy a combination of Cloud Foundry in our Microsoft pattern, and that's when they started to see some transaction, because it allowed those engineers to just start focusing on a product and leave all the security and the login and everything else to our team. So I've included in there what's on our roadmap, but it really explains or really highlights what we are about as a team. So load testing is a service that we're actually going to add as a value add. But it does come back to the feedback loop. So in the past, or even up till today, when a product is due to go live, there's a few days or maybe a few weeks of lead time to actually load test a product. And our team actually found there's a lot of scope of repeatability there. And also our engineers, they have dispensable infrastructure at their disposal. So we sort of agreed as a team that this is something that we can take on and also provide that in an API format, allow the product teams to actually move quicker. And this is the feedback loop actually in action. And also this comes back to our principles, both repeatability and frugality. Because if we are able to actually reuse those patterns, inherently we're going to save a lot of money. So our team, we do take the promise of resiliency and scalability and security very seriously. So we did achieve those through AWS constructs such as availability zones, but also consuming AWS services such as Lambda and ECS and more recently EKS. So it was important for us right at the beginning to ensure that our platform the ability to consume it in a modular manner was actually there, because that's where we found where we can add the most value. So with our frugality principle, cost is something that we take very seriously. We are a government organisation, and I am a New South Wales citizen, so it is all of our money which we're actually spending. And that figure that you see there, that's toll relief, how much we pay for ingress and compute power for toll relief for the past 12 months. And although these are impressive numbers, but the point is that our team constantly track these metrics, these cost metrics, the scalability, the performance, and we feed that back into our platform. We don't over-index on any principle, so we don't choose a solution or create a solution based on just one principle. So it is a good example of us using these metrics as a feedback mechanism when we decide to reiterate on our platform foundations. So today, to be honest, our platform is not a gold-plated platform. It never will be. We started as an MVP. It would continue to be as an MVP. And as long as I'm leading the team, it would always be an MVP. In saying that, the platform is servicing millions of citizens and whilst allowing for innovation. So we sort of have met a few challenges along the way, but our goal was never to actually deliver a gold platform end to end. Sometimes we even surprise some of the engineers which we are on board that look at some of the stuff that we're doing, which is just so simple. But if it gets the job done, I mean, if there's a simple AWS service and it meets all of our engineering principles, we embed that into the platform. We always try to minimize undifferentiated heavy lifting. A good example of that was the load testing service that we're going to take on. But this is us as a team trying to add value to the whole digital organisation. So lessons learned. There are many, and I think right at the beginning there was a lot of ambition there. And with that ambition, we probably took on too much and too quickly. So we realised that we did fail at one of our principles of starting small and reiterating. So we realised that we can add better value of picking and choosing the services that we want to improve and not try to transform everything at once. Also, our team was, we had a team of engineers augmented by Versent, but we found that we were suffering from local optimization. That's not to say that one team was performing better than the other, but we're running at two different speeds and we're running with two different goals. We had to sort of step back and find the bottlenecks of the whole organization, and those are the bottlenecks that we need to try and address, not the bottlenecks of our internal team. No doubt you must have heard from the Phoenix project or some other quotes that the system is only as fast as its bottleneck. And as long as there was a bottleneck somewhere else in the product teams or the digital product office, our team was only able to move at a particular pace. So we were very mindful way late into the migration of that local optimization problem. So in preparation for this presentation, I actually wanted to start, wanted to present sort of like a journey map, like a timeline of maps. But as I started that timeline, you can see that we started at serverless. Then we went to microservices. Then recently we deployed a workload on EC2. So if you superimpose the cloud maturity model on top of that, it seemed like we were going backwards. The reason why I mentioned that is because it doesn't really matter which stage of your journey you're on. You know, we started with serverless, but we found the middle ground of using microservices to allow our product team to innovate. But it doesn't matter which stage of your journey you are, what kind of technical stack that you have. What would be key to your success of building and operating your platform are the platform foundations. Thank you.